Can we angle you a little better so you don't look like my dad FaceTiming me?
Just ask me a question.
A lot of things.
Yes, like that.
Just ask me a question.
My dad puts it in his nose when I'm like, Rick.
Oh, yeah. No, it's more like this with dads. It's what's going on? What is that? Oh, it's just about anyway.
Welcome into Scoop City on a Wednesday. I'm James Palmer, joined always by senior NFL insider for The Athletic, Dianna Russini. We have a special guest with us at the top of the show. We're starting with Mike Sando from The Athletic, Dianna. This is different, and I like it. It feels good. It feels good right now.
Great to be here. Good to see everybody again. How you guys holding up?
We're doing great now. Yeah,
we are so good, Mike. Love reading you every Monday morning. I appreciate you cutting through all the fat of all the Sunday action and doing all the work that you've been doing. So, how's that been going for you? Has it been quite challenging for you? You feel like some of these storylines have been easy?
I think it's been fun. Early in the year, you're always just trying to not overreact, and you get an 0-3 team. You can kind of what the concerns are going to be. And so you try to just kind of lean into some of the big games and matchups, find the angles, and, mix in some research. And I don't think it's been too bad, and I've got a great, the editor that I work with, Dave DeShant, is money. Like he has an eye on like all the games and is totally into it. So he's always like feeding me a couple things too that I didn't see. So I kind of have that good feeling of, I can drill down on stuff, but I'm not going to miss something. And that's the biggest thing on a Sunday. Like when you're trying to do everything, you can miss something that's totally significant when you're in a certain rabbit hole, So that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, teamwork is huge. I'm still trying to get it from Dianna, Mike, but we're almost there, I think. I think we're almost there. I'm just kidding.
Wow,
no, I'm just kidding.
This is great. Elaborate.
No, we've been outstanding. We've enjoyed our time together. It's been wonderful, right, Dianna? And listen, I want to start off with, there's always surprises, like what Dianna just asked you, and what happens in the league at the start. And it's always going, whoa, this team came out of nowhere, Indianapolis. Whoa, this isn't the start that we thought. Baltimore, 1-3. We know that there's a litany of injuries there, Mike, honestly. And we'll get to Lamar Jackson, and Dianna will give us everything we need to know there. But what's your take on, if you took that from a macro level, what would be what's going wrong in Baltimore so far?
Well, one, really tough schedule where you're playing Buffalo and Kansas City early, and you're getting Kansas City right when they get Xavier Worthy back, and they play their best game by far. They're up for that game, and you're really flagging with the injuries. Their top 5 highest paid players. We put this in the Scoop City newsletter this week. Their top 5 salaried players are out right now. Now, they haven't been out the whole year, but that's just kind of where they were at by the end of that game against Kansas City. So the real question now is just, can they ever get healthy enough this year to really become a championship team? I still think they can be a good team. Lamar Jackson will come back at a certain point, and they may make the playoffs. So look at who's playing quarterback in that division. We're going to talk about Dillon Gabriel probably too. So they're not out of it by any means, but I think for a team like that, the standard is, how far are you going in the playoffs? Are we a Super Bowl contender? And it's really hard to say that they're going to be that right now when they're putting guys on IR and, like I said, have all their top players out. And now Lamar with a hamstring. I mean, hamstrings are notorious for lingering a little bit. What if he's 80%, of what he normally is by the time they get to the playoffs? That may not be good enough. That may be 2 plays where he gets tackled from behind and you lose.
Yeah, and you have to figure that's going to be a factor in their designation with him and how they're going to manage him over the next few weeks, knowing that it's only early October, right? Or soon to be here, or it is. I don't even know what time of year it is.
It is October 1st today.
It is October.
Yeah.
You love Halloween, Dianna. Let's go.
I do. I know. I'm happy. This is the best month. But that being said, for the Ravens, they're going to want to be able to make sure they're fully loaded come the postseason here. So I don't think they need to panic. But as much as the injuries worry me and concern me, and they are without a doubt the team that's dealing with them at the highest of levels, because they're serious and significant. They're and the hamstring thing is obviously not great. Their defense, it's just so suspect right now, and we know the Ravens of being the team that always has a very clear identity of what they are on that side of the ball. I just don't know if this is the year that's the Baltimore Ravens defense, and I think that's really what concerns me more than any of it. And of course, what does the offense look like without a Lamar being able to do the things that we know him to do so well that really separates him from everyone else? But I think everyone is looking at this like, wait, are we at a point now where perhaps this is getting so out of control where the team is underperforming that maybe this is going to fall on their head coach? Do you think that we're at a point where we need to start having a conversation? Is this on John Harbaugh? Like, how much have you seen it from that perspective rather than just we probably need to give him the benefit of the doubt here because of injuries?
Yeah. I think that's a fan frustration. I sense that from Raven fans. You're seeing things from fans like, hey, are they wasting Lamar Jackson? People are just, they get tired of it, right? And a consistent coach who kind of says the same things, and they haven't had the results in the postseason. I think there's a real tendency of fans to get frustrated from that. But I think John Harbaugh over the years has done a better job than anyone of developing coaches, weathering changes at coordinator positions, having his team ready to play well at the end of the year. I think the last 4 years, Dianna, they are 25th on defense in the first halves of seasons, and they're like first in the second half. So they've had tough starts before. Mike McDonald's first half of his first season was rough, and last year was this too. I think the problem they have right now is I don't see a formula by which their defense gets to be great in the second half of the year when you have all of these injuries. Then the other thing is they didn't change coordinators this year, so there's no real excuse for them other than the injuries to be as bad on defense. But those injuries, they've had 3 starting defensive linemen out. They've had members of their secondary out. I think that the injuries are a huge part of it. Every coach does run his course in a city after a certain amount of time, even good ones. We saw Andy Reid leave Philadelphia, and both teams have had success since then. So you do, you run the risk of that if you have a bad season of hey, it's time for that. I don't really feel that. What has been notable to me is Harbaugh kind of took on his offensive coordinator a little bit with his public comments.
And he doesn't do that very often. Yeah.
And he was PO'd after their playoff loss to the Kansas City, and that brought it up. Remember when they ran the ball like 3 or 4 times in the first half? And he's like, yeah, there was some contextual stuff, but they made no mistake the next year. They came out and ran the ball. So for him to say those things when, I mean, statistically, there hasn't been a better offense since Todd Monken's been there, that was kind of notable to me too. So, you've got...
He's seeing Greg Roman with Justin Herbert throwing the ball now, and he's like, where the hell was that when we were here? All we did was run. Yeah. So I think any time that there's losing and expectations and super highly competitive and egos, right? I mean, think of Lamar at the top of his game, a super competitor who's, frustrated anyway because they haven't gotten over the top. Harbaugh, where's the owner at, right? I mean, there's just, the pressure gets cooked up. But I still think John Harbaugh is a great coach. I do.
I do too. It's 18 years there, Mike. Yeah, it's funny. You stick in the division. There's still Steelers fans every offseason that are going, is it time to part ways with Mike Tomlin? Which you're sitting there going, he'd have a job before he left the parking lot in the NFL. But it always seems like this happens in some places. I'll be Johnny Positive. It's a little bit for Ravens fans. Only one of your next 7 games right now is a team with a winning record. That's the Rams. They have Rams and Texans both at home. Those are good D-lines, so I'm curious about Lamar. But then you have the bye. And you don't have another divisional game until week 11, which I think bodes well maybe for hopefully buying some time because you could still win a division that has, we're not sure about Jake Browning and going on in Cincinnati, and we're maybe some questions maybe about the Steelers, but they're playing well. But the other team there, Mike, is the Cleveland Browns, and they make a switch at quarterback, and they go to Dillon Gabriel and make the move to the rookie 3rd-round pick. I think we all thought we'd see one, if not both, rookie quarterbacks this season. What's your take on maybe why they made the decision? I think some would say this early, but perhaps the way we've seen them play offensive football, it might be time.
And I mean, Joe Flacco's 41 years. Is he 41 or he's 40?
I think so. Yeah,
he's up there. I don't think he moves very well. And
it's nice
and
of
I
you.
think they're not committed to him financially. I think the frustrating thing in the past was like they stuck with Deshaun Watson so long when he wasn't getting it done because they had all this money invested in him. So I actually see this as more of a positive sign of like, hey, they're actually willing to make a move maybe for the right reason, right? They've made all these moves a lot of times for the wrong reasons, I feel like. And so, hey, we drafted these 2 guys. It's probably not going to be a playoff season. Let's take a look at Dillon Gabriel. And you still have time do Shedeur Sanders at a certain point if you don't like how that's looking. So, I'm fine with it.
I had someone playfully say to me, talking about the Bengals, of like, hey, is Joe Burrow making an argument that he should be up for MVP because the Bengals are so bad without him, right? Which was, obviously a joke. We wound up just talking about how obviously he's that good. Joe Burrow is that good and that they are Super Bowl contenders when he's healthy. But it's not even about the skill level. It's the belief that you can win that actually changes so many teams. And I apply that to Cleveland here, that sometimes these moves just give the rest of the locker room maybe some hope if he can really do it. That maybe there's a little bit of a spark. We saw it with the New York Giants, with Jaxson Dart, which we're going to get to in a second here, of just, look, this isn't working. Joe Flacco's not the answer. Russell Wilson's not the answer. Let's give a shot here to somebody who can maybe do it. And we've heard, James and I both have heard some pretty good things about Dillon Gabriel. I don't think he's got the same aura and skill set that a Jaxson Dart brings, but they like him there. They and maybe this could be the future if this is something that Kevin Stefanski can get, the most out of him. But I want to actually get your thoughts on Jaxson Dart in terms of his style of play from what you saw.
Yeah.
Do you think this is sustainable?
No, I think they know it's not. This was Rocky Balboa
James has
out
been
there.
saying this.
I have it.
Yeah, and I watched that. I did watch that game closely, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's not going to make it." And I know they were excited and hugging after the game, but they had 250 yards. They averaged 3.6 yards per play. It's the second lowest yards per play in the Giants' last 198 victories, going back 25 years. So that ain't happening. And this guy's limping around with the hamstring. They designed run him like 7 times. I think he took 5 sacks, and then he's Mr. Hero when he runs down the field. He's not running out of bounds. He's running back into the defender. There's one play where he's
slapping helmets.
He's slapping a guy's helmet. I'm like, dude, that's your throwing hand. I mean, there's no way that's sustainable. And so I was kind of texting and talking to, some front office people, they're like, that's how you played in college. So I think I totally understand the breath of fresh air. After what happened to Russell Wilson the game the week before against Kansas City on that red zone possession, I mean, they had to do something different. You can't go back to that, in my opinion. When Dart looked really good in the preseason. So I think Dart has some good qualities. I think he throws the ball well. I think he can probably do it, but they've got to have a different sort of plan for him, and they've got to be able to temper him. And I don't know if they can, because he got the concussion sputter looking at him in preseason. I mean, how many guys have that happen from a scramble, So
it's true.
I never thought of it that way. It's such a good point. But how do you... I mean, it's probably for a deeper conversation, but just so much of the quarterback position is the personality of the player, And look, you got to figure this kid was juiced up, the nerves, the adrenaline, MetLife was alive, the pressure, right? Like he can say he was told he's not the savior. He knew he's out there because Brian Gable's like, you're my guy, and you better save my job. It's why Brian was kissing him literally after the game.
Oh, Diana, yeah.
Yes, it was a little. It was like, hey, this is. It reminded me of the. Remember that old story about Magic Johnson's first game? Kareem hits the hook, and it's like the first game of the year, and Magic's like lifting him up in the air, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's like, dude, we got 82 more of these. We can't throw the confetti every time.
That was life. That was like that was the pressure and the build up, the drama. That was everything in one moment, right? And just release.
And I think that if they had won that game with Russell Wilson, I don't think you can go up and hug Russell Wilson right now and feel the same energy and juice, right? And the same, I think Russell's just been so canned, kind of, just so scripted that you never really know, you never really see the real, unvarnished, emotional guy. And I think Dart brought that, for a game, and that was palpable, and it was really cool. And they won the game, and now you got to figure out a way to do it without him, getting many hits. And
look, I love the fact that the defense came alive more than Jaxson. Like the Jaxson Dart element to this is cool, but it was the first time this Giants D looked scary because we've been waiting for it. It's just it hasn't been good with all the talent that they have, and I put a lot of that on them. And look, I know they don't have a lot of great linebackers, all the excuses, but they looked good. And I guess the other way, it's truly an expertise way of looking at it. The way I can gauge that fans are excited about something is when the kids in my son's daycare are wearing their Giants shirts again.
Let's go.
And I saw it.
No soccer jersey.
They wear the granted it said Barkley on the back, but whatever.
That's okay.
They're wearing the Giants
right.
shirts again. So that's a good sign. So we'll see if they'll be able to do it against the Saints team that can't figure it out either.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a Tommy DeVito feel to this, except this Jaxson Dart has a lot more talent. Jaxson Dart is somebody who was drafted early and can throw the ball, but it had that sort of a feeling of like the sustainability part wasn't there, but it made everybody happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm before we go, Mike, I'm kind of curious because we're talking about the hope that we saw, and you could feel it in MetLife with Jaxson Dart, and I don't want to say it's directly related, but then the next week you see Kevin Stefanski make a move at his quarterback spot when you have a very good defense in Cleveland, and you have a young core of rookies that are playing really, really well from your running back to your tight end to your middle linebacker to your defensive lineman. I mean, all of them. And I'm curious if you try to just see that spark and you go, maybe we can create something with a change as well. Because, Dianna, I was told this morning this had much more to do with the way Flacco was playing and less to do with Dillon Gabriel's lighting it up in practice. We have to get him on the field. That's really more of why the change happened. So now you're putting Gabriel out, but they do think can play and do think he's ready to play. But Mike, what is that aspect, I guess, because you've talked about developmental, aspects of with these quarterbacks, that you might be doing it to help your organization, but maybe it's not best for the quarterback at that time. And I feel like that might be happening to Gabriel. Yeah.
But I feel like it's a great time in Cleveland to do this because they're not their window to win with Deshaun Watson's kind of over, right? I mean, that team, they're going. So, like, I would do a big contrast to like Minnesota. I'm going to write about for tomorrow. Minnesota's won all these games. They had a good quarterback, and it's not really the best time to be breaking in somebody who needs a long runway, right? This team's ready to go now.
Yeah.
Hard time to just say, hey, let's take the season and see how it goes. I think Cleveland's much more in that window of what are we going to look at Joe Flacco for half the year?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. We draft these two guys, and we need some answers this year on these guys. Because they could be at the top of the draft early next year having to make decisions, and you don't want to be like, well, we have these two guys, we're just going to... No.
And you got an extra pick. Extra first pounder.
So I totally think that unless it just looked like, hey, Joe's got this team going, and we're going to be a top half of the league offense, and we can win in the playoffs, I think then you stick with Joe Flacco. You could justify doing that. But otherwise, you can't justify it. And I love the fact they're moving on. And let's look at somebody that I think the coaching staff wanted. I think you could say that, whereas I don't know if the coaching staff was all in on going after Deshaun. That seemed like an ownership thing. The fit never seemed great. And then everybody wanted Shedeur Sanders to go earlier, but I think that the reason Gabriel went sooner was probably because the coaches kind of got a little bit more sway of somebody they wanted. So maybe this is someone finally that Kevin Stefanski, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I haven't talked to him about Dillon Gabriel, but my perception would be that, hey, maybe this is somebody that they kind of want to take a look at, and so let's see how it goes. It can't be worse than it's been, and if it doesn't go well, then we'll see. Maybe the ownership or somebody wants to look at Shedeur later.
Yeah.
Well, we remember, just for everybody at home, Shedeur Sanders is still the third string emergency quarterback. Joe Flacco for this game on Sunday will be the backup for Dillon Gabriel. So for Shedeur to see the field against the Vikings, you'd have to have an injury to both Dillon Gabriel and Joe Flacco for that to happen.
And
Mike,
he was asked about the quarterback change, Shedeur, and he mimed his answers. So he didn't give actual verbal answers. He just mimed to the media. Even when they asked him to talk.
Okay.
So
did he take ASL in college?
I'm not sure what the play was there. I'm going to guess that was just probably... This is
so funny. We hear about like the quarterback rooms, so you've got Joe Flacco, who's a good pro, but has publicly said in other stops,
I'm not here to mentor.
I'm a pro and I want to play and I'm competitive. And you have Shedeur, who was like telling teams whether he wanted to be drafted or not, and comes with all this other sort of baggage is why he went so late. And they were like, Dillon Gabriel, let's go. It is still not an ideal situation.
It's a great point. And I know we keep connecting it to New York, but that was one of the things that I kept hearing out of the Giants was they love that quarterback room. We can say what we want about Russell and Jameis, and they come with their own little personalities. But New York loves that room, and I think it's helped with Jaxson, at least helping him get prepared. So we'll see how valuable they've been for this young player.
I love that. I've never taken offense to Joe Flacco's comments, by the way, when he's asked about mentoring. I've always been, and I loved Dillon Gabriel's answer when he spoke to the media for the first time as the starting quarterback and said, it's Joe's job to try to play great quarterback play. It's my job to ask him questions and try to learn from him as a quarterback. And I think that's well put by Dillon Gabriel. This is awesome. Mike, appreciate you joining us again. I love that this is becoming a thing. I'm feeling it. I like it. Coming up on the show, coming up on Scoop City, we have Mike Silver joining us, who was at that thriller between the Packers and the Cowboys. He had spent some time with Jerry Jones and saw a behind-the-scenes look of Micah Parsons that he wants to tell us. That's coming up next on Scoop City. All right, and now we bring in maybe our favorite guest of the show. I'll lose the maybe. I'll say it is. It's senior NFL writer Michael Silver, or just goes by Silver, or whatever we want to call him. Dianna joining the show once again. I believe last time you were on, Silver, we had to cut maybe like half of what we talked about because we went so off the rails. I didn't make the call, but we'll try to stick to football a little bit best we can today, huh?
No.
No, definitely not.
I would know the answer to that if I'd watched the episode, but sadly I was so busy reporting on things going around the NFL that I was unable to see the final cut.
You have been busy, my friend. You've had some great pieces the last few weeks, and we want to actually talk to you about that in a sec here.
Very much so. Best writer in the game.
I'm great. So far we're off to a roaring start. I'm the favorite guest. And I've been doing great work. Keep it coming, guys. This is awesome.
Okay, well, I didn't read your article when you were down with Jerry, but I'll have to get to it eventually. No, I'm just kidding. You went down and you got Jerry, and you were there for that wild game that ends in a tie. And now I wanted to push this forward, though, but I make sure everybody goes and reads Silver's article about what transpired there, and it was outstanding as always. Never expect anything less. But Jerry now this week says, well, we have the cap room. We didn't do Micah. We can bring back George Pickens on a contract extension. What are your thoughts on Jerry and the timing of this comment after what we saw and you saw in person on Sunday?
Okay, well, first of all, I got to set the scene for you because, Jerry is the general manager, but even for a general manager, let alone an owner, it is quite unusual what he does, and that's after every home game, he holds court outside the Cowboy locker room, and a massive throng of media people surrounds him at the expense of Brian Schottenheimer's press conference, the players getting talked to, and you got to make a choice, and so that's just kind of how it is, and obviously this was a big game, a wild game, and a lot of people wanted to talk to Jerry for obvious reasons. So when I finally got close enough to connect with him and talk to him a little bit, he first wanted to inform me, and I'll paraphrase here because it's a family show, I'm told, but he said, "Hey, you ripped me a new one." And, that was Jerry, kind of friendly, but kind of serious, acknowledging that the last couple columns I wrote about him before the Parsons trade and then immediately after, took him out to the woodshed a little bit. And Jerry and I go way back to when I was at the Santa Rosa Press-Democrat, and he was a rookie owner, and we've had a great relationship for a long time, and he can handle it, but it was definitely a cool way to start that off. He then looked at me and longtime Cowboy beat writer Clarence Hill and made a comment to the effect of, "Man, all the whiskey and wine I've bought you guys over the years, and here you are, taking shots at me." And again, he said it smiling. But Jerry's been talking a lot. And so I would just back up and say this. If Jerry had said in March, "Hey, look, we are already paying Dak Prescott top of market. We love Michael Parsons. We're going to have to pay him the most of any non-quarterback ever to keep him. We think that model is going to be hard for us. And yes, edge rushers are valuable, but we think interior linemen are valuable too. And we think we can do it a different way." I might have gone along with it. I think most people in football would have been like, "Yeah, but Micah's pretty special. It's weird that you would do that." but they would have gotten value, and I could have maybe rolled with it. It's the after the fact rationalization and talking that I think is throwing people for a loop. It's like, and he even went out and said a few days ago, we got more by trading Micah under duress in late August than we would have before the draft, which is a little dubious. So let's bring it back to George Pickens. That quote, just if you see that quote, you're like, wait, what? George Pickens, the guy who was in a shoving match when he could have been a target on a last-second touchdown pass with the Steelers, et cetera. Yeah, et cetera, et cetera. But I will say this. CeeDee Lamb was out on Sunday night. The Cowboys were unable to stop the Packers, and they came very close to winning that game largely because George Pickens was balling, and obviously Dak drives that offense. But George Pickens was in many, many ways looking like an elite receiver. So I see what Jerry's saying. Now, some would argue that if you pay George Pickens, you might be getting a different version, but that's for Jerry and his money to decide.
Yeah. Well, you know who represents George Pickens, Diana? Athletes first.
Sounds familiar.
I hope it's David Mulligetta.
It's athletes first and David Mulligetta. He's not his primary agent, but
but it's still the same company.
It's still the same company.
I don't know his back. Well, we should make sure his back's okay as they head into this.
Yeah, I think Jerry's always going to try to find a way and an angle to make us believe that he did the right thing, even paying all the players that he did after the trade, and just gaslight all of us to believing that it was the right thing. And look, who knows? Who knows how this thing shakes out? I still believe, though, and I think the two of you agree with me, that Micah Parsons is just a special player. And it's why that trade, guys, I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the season. We don't know who's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, Mike. But I think no matter what, Micah Parsons getting traded will still be a top 3 story in the NFL this season when we look back on it, without a doubt. And this usually trades don't really register at that level,
Yeah, well, we'll see. You probably have a better way of seeing the future than I do. All I see is the past these days. I'm like, wow, I covered that guy's dad. But I will say this. First of all, let's just stop and appreciate Dak Prescott, because he's been making top of market for a long time. And he's won his contract battles with Jerry. And, there's this thought about Dak that, he's in the middle. He's really good, so you pay him. But if you pay him that much and he takes up that much of your cap, he can't elevate and he isn't winning playoff games. Listen, man, the Dak Prescott I saw in this game, which, make no mistake, was a big game as regular season games go, he was MVP level. And he has played well in playoff games that, he lost one to Aaron Rodgers where he played really well. In others, he hasn't played so well. But I do believe in Dak Prescott, and that's, it's going to take something special for that roster to make some noise in the playoffs, let alone get in. But that's possible with a guy that transcendent. As far as Mike, I'll share one scene with you. It's interesting. Yeah. There's this kind of perception. I heard from Cowboy people before the game, he doesn't really elevate in big games. And I go, well, this would count kind of as a big game, so let's see. And he really didn't have much of a game. He had that 2-play flurry, though, that limited them to a field goal in overtime. But, there's this sense of Micah, like he's into the podcasting and maybe he's more, sizzle and all that. But I was waiting to talk to Matt LaFleur and walk to the bus with him and, long after the rest of the Packer players were gone. And he and Micah walked out together, and they were in a very intense conversation, just the two of them, for a while. And I didn't hear every word, but the gist of it was Micah, just very animated and emphatic, essentially telling Matt, let's be more aggressive. And I think he probably meant defense, although it certainly applied on offense at times too. But he was basically like, he looked like someone who not only was very, very opinionated about it in a let's be aggressive way, but someone who was just really upset. And, people have varying reactions to a tie. because it's so rare. But he looked like a guy who just lost the game that he really, really, really wanted to win. And so it kind of gave me a little window into Micah's competitiveness too.
Yeah. And I do think a lot of people around football have said that, the same things that you were hearing from Dallas about playing those big moments. But I think we're going to see a different version of him there. I think it's a different culture. We obviously are seeing different coaching. We still have a lot more to learn about Micah Parsons with this Green Bay Packers team. But that being said, the Thursday night game is between the San Francisco 49ers and the red-hot LA Rams, who they just figure out ways every week. As long as Matthew Stafford's there, as long as Puka's there, as long as Sean McVay's there, it's just every single week they're showing up. And no one is overlooking this team. They get so much respect around the league. For the 49ers, just with your tremendous amount of experience with them, what's the state of them right now? We spent so much time last year talking about the big black cloud over there. What about them now? How are you feeling about them?
Well, they got to be really thrilled to be 3-1, first of all. And I know they just lost to the Jaguars, and hilarity ensued after the game, which we can get into on the Liam Cohen, former Ram assistant Robert Saleh front. But that stung. But they got to be really happy to be 3-1. They pulled out 3 other games. They've been really well coached. Kyle Shanahan, we know week to week, opponent specific, can come up with really good game plans, and he's been really smart about the style of offense he's run to complement that young defense. But wow, Robert Saleh, woo! Robert Saleh, was fired by the Jets and then went back to Green Bay. Kind of helped out with the offense for Matt LaFleur, but in Robert's words, that was more for me than for Matt. He was basically doing me a solid, and then he had head coaching opportunities or buzz and interviews, and he also obviously had a lot of defensive coordinator interest.
Of course.
And there are a couple of head coaching jobs, including the Cowboys, that he would have looked very hard at, but the entire time he was like, if I'm going to be a coordinator, I want Kyle. And Kyle was unequivocal. Jeff Ulbrich, who he had gone after the year before but had been blocked, was theoretically available. Brandon Staley, who'd been in the building. There were other people that Kyle could have looked at, but Kyle was similarly like Saleh or bust. And now I kind of see why on both fronts. Like we're seeing what Robert Saleh can do with a very young defense, and now without its star edge rusher, it's Micah Parsons and Nick Bosa, obviously, with that injury, and they did not have much of a pass rush against Trevor Lawrence, and that's going to be another challenge. But wow, he's been doing a really, really good job coaching up that defense, which can presumably get better in a lot of ways as the years goes on. One way they're not going to get better is losing Nick Bosa. There's no replacing that.
Yeah.
That they will be worse for the rest of the year because of that.
Yeah, I don't think they sacked Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they hit Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure if they did.
I don't think they touched Trevor Lawrence.
I don't think they did. It was he didn't even need to shower with these floating rocks. I think he just left the stadium.
I think Liam Cohen's rush on Robert Saleh was more effective than any 49er rush on Trevor Lawrence during the game.
You're embarrassed by that.
Listen. I like both guys. I understand in the big picture on Liam that we're the new Jaguars. We're not backing down. We're coming in with some swag. We just won a game. We're 3-1. I understand. It kind of reminds me of Jim Schwartz when he got to Detroit. It was like, hey, we're not these pushover Lions anymore. And, I'm going to lead with my chin. I get all that. I'm surprised Liam was so, upset by what Robert actually said. And we could get into why did Robert say it. I think he was clumsily trying to pay a compliment. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he said that. He was always like, I didn't understand.
I'm surprised Liam cared that much. So, in this case, I would tend to say it was probably over the top. And, I commend Robert for, trying to take the high road after.
I wouldn't fight Robert Saleh.
Listen, in general, I am all about coach conflict, whether it's at the owner meeting, pool, at the
Oh my
combine,
gosh.
in group texts, in text to us privately. It's kind of like coaches feel when they hear that, two insiders are having a thing at a Starbucks during the combine. Dianna, James, how many coaches did you share that with, or they heard about it? Like, how happy were
the biggest mistake I made was I told people that I was standing there. So then it was like, because I was a witness, then it got around. And then everyone's like, dude, I heard you saw this. I'm like, oh my God, grow up, everybody. But everyone loves the drama.
They do love the drama.
I know everyone takes Robert Saleh in like the Royal Rumble. Everyone's had these conversations like, which coach would you take in the fights?
I got mine, and it hasn't changed in years. Go ahead.
I don't think Robert Saleh is mean enough.
No, he's too nice. I think
he's
Kyle
a
said that.
guy, but he is so nice.
First of all, he's a coordinator now, so he's out of. And I feel this is something I've been on for years, and I feel like the rest of the world is now catching up, and it's very frustrating to me. So I may have to take it to a different level and go to GMs and owners. Because I think the coach thing is played out. I think we all, Dan Campbell is a monster, Mike Vrabel, D'Amico Ryans are the obvious ones. We lost Gerard Mayo and Antonio Pierce. They were big. Aaron Glenn would probably be, another guy that you throw in there. A lot of people have argued Sean McDermott to me because of the wrestling past and the leverage.
And being from Philly,
if you
probably.
look at Dan Campbell, I just think, but when I do get into GMs, it's going to be really fun because, obviously John Lynch was such a fearsome Hall of Fame safety. But to me, the obvious number one seed, and for those who ever saw him play football, I think would agree, is Dan Morgan. I just think Dan Morgan was basically like faster Luke Kuechly, and then it had his career cut short by injuries. But Dan Morgan was an absolute beast on the football field, and I can't imagine like that first round matchup with like Howie or Elliott Wolf.
Howie's
trying
16.
to take on Dan Morgan.
I think he might be a 16.
Feels painful to me.
Before we get to owners, which I'm trying to think now, like that's an interesting one. Rob Walton's very old, but he climbed Everest. I don't know. Listen, Silver, you were in that building in Jacksonville, draft time, and what went on there to get Travis Hunter.
Not just the building, James.
In the room,
James, not just the building.
You were in the room.
I was in the room where
you were in the room. You were in where it happened. You were. And now we're 4 games in. I know it's early, but what's the sense there, if you know at all, of Travis Hunter, and has this worked? And
thank you for asking. I do know, and I'm happy to share. They're not that worried about Travis Hunter, and I think this will evolve. And in their mind, he is unbelievable in the building, very coachable, great energy. They thought, there was one play against the Bengals where he was going to catch a pivotal touchdown pass, had Trevor Lawrence not been clocked as he threw, and it was then intercepted. And then he made a play at defensive back that would have clinched the game where they threw a flag that they felt was dubious. So they're like, look, if those two things happen, we'd all be talking differently because he would have been the guy who single-handedly won that game. That's the one they lost. But, I think they're not worried about Travis Hunter the way the rest of us are saying, wow, he's not popping. But there is another question that we're not talking about as much, and that is what's going on with Brian Thomas? Last year, this guy came into the league and was instantly an elite receiver as a rookie, and it was like, whoa.
I think he finished third, I want to say, in receiving. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great pick. And now he's got, they got De'Ami Brown, they got Travis Hunter there. It's going to be really, really cool. And, he's dropped a lot of balls. He did not have a good camp. He's kind of a quiet guy, and it's been hard for them to read. But that, to me, is the one that I'm kind of curious about. Like, what is going on with Brian Thomas? Because let's face it, if Brian Thomas looks like 2024 Brian Thomas, presumably that would open things up for everyone else, including Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
I know, and I feel like it's something that's fixable. Like, we know it's fixable. And you just wonder if this is just something in his head.
The yips? Are you calling it the yips, Dianna?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's not technique. He knows what he's doing. But if he could just knock this out, they could be really good. Look, the Colts and the Jags, I did not have on my radar as the two teams coming out of the AFC South, right? I think the Houston Texans getting that win against the Titans were really good for them. I think they needed that win.
Yeah, it would have been really bad if they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Tennessee, I think we all know that it's a mess there. And they've got to get their priorities straight there because
you're using a lot of words, Dianna. I think rookie quarterback Cam Ward used 2 words that summarized it really, really well.
Yeah,
Those
you're
were
right.
short and sweet and to the point.
We asked. I was on a talk show recently, and they were queuing up the soundbite, and it was taking some time. And I was just like, "Here, I'll help you." We asked. That's what he said. It was, and the thing is, that was a painful press conference to watch, just because the kid's only been there, a few months, really, and you can feel the frustration.
I think that should be the Scoop City sign-off, by the way. Like, I think we should all have drinks, and at the end, we should all, be like, 1, 2, 3.
We asked. I like to set our bar a little higher than that. Then we asked.
Higher than ass.
Yeah.
They asked.
Understandable. Silver, before we bounce, we talked on the show the other day about your Peter King impersonation. And Dianna and I, it might be, what is it, top 3 things we love in life, Dianna? Is Silver's Peter King?
Saves my marriage.
Are you... That was a good one. That was a good chat. Are you able to do Peter in public or not Peter in public?
Yep.
Well,
I'm just going to tell you guys, first of all.
Before you do this, Scoop City probably can't get Peter King on, right? Because he's so busy. So why don't you just come on as Peter King? So welcome to Scoop.
Why is he busy? He's retired. No, I'm kidding.
First of all, James, I noticed that you brought up the fact that I do, in fact, do the impersonation in front of Peter. So I don't want anyone to think I am disparaging one of the great sports journalists and a close personal friend of mine. He knows that I do this with love. In fact, I was talking to him yesterday at about 6:42 p.m. about the way that Emmitt Smith emerged from the locker room in 1993 with his shoulder pad kind of askew, and he leaned over and told Daryl Johnston, who they called the Moose, hey, that crackback block in the third quarter was the key to the whole ball game. But I'm just going to tell you, I will do Peter King on and off the air. I'll do it in front of Peter. But Dianna knows that in the wake of your Mike Silver imitation on Scoop City, I did, in fact, do a James Palmer imitation that I will not do now. But I want you to know that I have one, and it will be surfacing, and it'll probably be somewhere in that Lee-ass toasting zone. We're going to get into the James Palmer imitation.
So good.
So what we're going to have to do.
Attention to detail is through the roof.
Hey, I want to tell you one other thing, guys. It's been great having you. It's been great having you here on Scoop City. I'm going to probably be the one to sign off on this episode because I'm being Peter King.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for writing about me a couple years ago. I appreciate that effort.
Hey, I just want everyone to know that Dianna Russini is out there for The Athletic doing great work. You can watch her on Scoop City, but don't forget to read What I'm Hearing and her other great work, like that story on the Jets she did last year where they talked about Woody Johnson and his kids and not wanting to trade for Jerry Jeudy because his Madden rating was too low. Ha 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 ha!
Oh my God, Silver, you're
Mike,
the
it
greatest.
was a pleasure. Thank you.
You're the absolute
I love
greatest.
you, Peter. I love you.
You
guys are okay, but I do love Peter.
Well, he's in a class of his own, Silver, and so are you. Appreciate it, brother. Nobody's better than the GOAT, Mike Silver. He'll be with us regularly throughout the season. Make sure you stick with us. Make sure you stick with Mike Silver and the stories that he brings. And we have more coming up on Scoop City. Chris Branch from The Pulse is going to be Dianna asking us questions about football and parenting. Oh, you know that. All right, welcome back to Scoop City. James Palmer, Dianna Russini with you, and we're closing things out, Dianna, which is something we always like on a Wednesday, right? Chris Branch is going to be asking us a couple of questions from the Pulse. One football-related, one, I believe, parenting-related. Let's go with football first. Chris?
Hello, friends. I come to you kind of sadly today as a Saints fan. This early season has made me think a lot about fans and misery and, what to hope for. And so I highlighted 4 teams: the Saints, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Titans. If you were a neutral fan today, which team would give you the most hope as a fan? I mean, the Saints, first-year coach, sure, maybe that's encouraging. The GM is still there, who has overseen this kind of demise. And the draft does not look as solid as we thought it looked 3 weeks ago. Tennessee, everything looks bad except the quarterback. The Jets, everything looks worse than we expected, but it's a new coach and it's still early. And the Dolphins, I don't even know what to say. I know Mike McDaniels might have a long leash, but I'm not sure. So if you had to pick one of those spots to be a fan, which would you pick and why?
Okay, couple things there. I love...
cat? Oh, I can hear a cat. Yeah. I heard a cat.
I love when Chris joins the show. Make sure you go check him out on the Pulse. It is such a good newsletter. He basically just touches on every single topic in sports that you need to know. Like it's like, hey, I'm busy. I don't have time to read and listen to everything. He will get you caught up on everything you need to know in every sport. Sign up for it. It's easy. It's free in your email box, in your inbox. Okay. The other thing I always check out to see if he has his little basketball net, his toddler.
I always look for it, and it's free.
Me too. It always just reminds me that I have to practice basketball with my boys because I'm like, oh, they're definitely playing in their living room.
I also like that little tyke basketball hoop has not changed in 35 years. It's the same.
I know. It's just classic.
They don't want to change it. No, I had a Jordan Jammer when I was a kid too. It was pretty sweet.
Okay, a couple things. The whole Spencer Rattler thing. I just feel bad for him. At this point, he cannot get a win. No. He literally can. He may break records for starting a certain amount of games and never recording a victory in the NFL. So hopefully they can figure that out. I don't have any belief, so I am with him. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take this first, James, if you're cool with it.
Yeah,
the teams he lists first. To me, it was and I'm probably a little bit of a victim of the moment here. I'm going to go with the Giants, and a little bit of how I discussed it with Sando and you previously. It's the defense to me. I think they've built some confidence now, and I think they're just going to continue to improve. And I think this is where we can see Dable get some control over the offense with a guy that I think he truly believes in, that has skill, that maybe the offense won't look exactly the way we imagined it look in New York, but I think Brian's going to be able to get the most out of Jackson and figure this out, even though they lost Malik Neighbors. So of the team, this is a hard question because of the teams that I don't think...
that you found it out and picked the other New York team that he mentioned.
Oh, he didn't even mention the Giants?
No, he mentioned the Jets.
Stop!
Yes!
That makes it even better. Well, it ain't the Jets for me. So there you go.
The Jets.
They were my call. They were my helpline.
Yeah, they're phone.
I just went with a team that plays in MetLife. Yes. That's what I went with.
Phoned a friend across, from a different.
Phoned a friend to the other place. All right. Well, then if it's not the Jets, then.
What do you think about the Titans? I'm thinking of these teams, and I'm like, at least there's a quarterback in place.
The fact that that's how we have to do this, though, right? Because, and I know what you're saying. We ask, but the problem there is they don't know what they are. Again, this was the problem with Tennessee last year, and it's the problem with Tennessee again. Mm-hmm. When I say the Tennessee Titans to you, can you give me anything about the identity of the team outside the fact that they've got a really good quarterback?
No. I think they're searching for that. I think they're trying to flip a roster. I think there's a new regime in place that is trying to figure out an identity. And I think if you asked any of those guys who are part of Mike Borgonzi's group, Dianna, I think they tell you, I don't think we found it yet. I don't think we know what we are yet. And I think they're trying to figure out who's going to be that core. I think if you look at the teams that are there, I think you saw an establishment of some core ideas when you re-sign Sauce and re-sign Garrett Wilson before the season starts. You're trying to tell a locker room in New York, this is who we are. You see some pieces, but you're kind of half flipping the roster in Miami. You're like, is this really Darren Waller? How long does this last? Devin, you know what I mean? it's just, there's a lot of unknowns anywhere. And you look at New Orleans, you're like, this is an aging roster for sure, in a lot of aspects, and even on the defense. And so I'm just kind of like, is the cleanest slate the Titans, essentially? And if you have patience, maybe that's my pick. I don't know.
This is the hardest segment we've ever done.
This was really tough.
It's talking about losers, though. Like, this is the hard part about it, because you want to believe that they can turn it around, but there is nothing in Tennessee that gives me hope.
No. I think
maybe I'm listening to Buck Rising too much down there in Nashville. But.
Yeah, you're right. I think the only thing that you try to accomplish sometimes when you're this bad is to make sure you made the right pick at quarterback, right? Like, that's your goal for the first year. Once you get to the back end of it, like, I just want to make sure that this is the guy. Like,
yeah.
This is the guy. I think they think that's the case. I don't know. Who knows? All right, let's get to the second question. This might be harder. Who knows? Because I think this isn't about football, which actually maybe this might be our expertise. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay, this is another kind of sad question, but much happier overall. I am the parent of a very picky 3-year-old toddler, and I need to know what your go-to picky eater meals are. Please help. Thank you.
Great question.
You're going to have to take this.
No, I can't take it because I got the same situation.
Oh. Well, then I can't help, because we had the least pickiest eater ever. I mean, he was eating sushi at 5. Like,
come on.
No problems. The only thing we had an issue with was we didn't want to go on to baby food, but this is way before 3. We wanted to stick with milk, all the milk we can handle, forever. And it's like there was no baby food that worked. But once we went to solids, and you're clearly there at 3, it was anything he liked everything. He liked everything. It was wild.
Chris, I think what could work for you, my friend, because it has worked for us, it doesn't work all the time, is we lean into what the boys are into in terms of toys, life, movies. So they're in their dinosaur era right now.
So you're doing Dino Nuggets?
So we do, like, for example, broccoli. It's very hard to get little boys to eat broccoli. So we call it dino broccoli. Like, this is what the dinos eat. You know, this is what the Bronchiosaurus eats.
Herbivore. Got it.
Exactly. And by the way, my son knows a herbivore and carnivore. Like, he knows all those terms. So he understands. Like, we just got him eating a hamburger for the first time last night because we said T-Rexes are, and he goes carnivore. And we're like, this is meat. And he was, and he ate it. So you just have to, like, let them be dinosaurs. Let your son be a dinosaur, and then he will do that. Now, look, we have a separate issue with biting because of that, because Michael thinks he's a T-Rex. But I'm okay with Joey having bite marks as long as they're eating.
Yeah, as long as he's nourished and he's not like
correct
malnourished.
Because then they need their teeth. That tells me they're eating. If they start losing, they will. My 2-year-old doesn't have a tooth, which is weird because it fell out after he fell off the kitchen table, but that's a different story.
Oh, I don't think that's a different story. I'd like to hear it.
So I didn't know this. If your child's baby teeth get loose, chipped, whatever happens, you only have one option. You have to pull it.
Yeah. You
have to pull it. So Joey was, sound like the worst mom. Joey was standing on the kitchen table at 1-year-old and he fell off. Just stood and just fell off. The poor kid doesn't cry. He gets up, smiles at me, tooth just hanging on. I'm like, oh my God. And so he sees my face and was like, oh. And so he starts crying. So
they're always waiting for. They're waiting for your reaction to see.
I rushed him to the dentist. They got to tie him down. Dentist looks at me. I was like, you're going to put it back in, right? Like, use glue and stick it back. She goes, oh, no, honey. It's either we're pulling this thing or you're going to get a veneer. Oh. Can you imagine little Joey with a face?
Veneer?
A veneer, like a fake suit, like a cap.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So, poor Joe. They call him, they have a nickname for him at preschool. It's very mean, actually. Oh. They mock the poor kid for missing a tooth because he's so little. He's got no tooth. But that's all right. Toughen little Joey up.
Yeah. Listen, this is going to get this little,
So more of the story, lean into your kids' interests.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I think that's good. I like leaning into your kids' interest. Or just try everything. California rolls were fire in our house at like
Dude, unbelievable. God bless you with a good eating kid.
He's a good eater. He's a good eater. Dianna, this was outstanding as always. I will see you tomorrow when we do another Scoop City. Make sure you like, subscribe, by the way. Make sure you interact in the comments. We'll jump in the comments. We'll interact with you a little bit. I think that's been a fun aspect that's kind of growing a little bit. Make sure you do that, okay? Take it easy.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.